Chosen one. Listen carefully, heaven has started the clock. Time is not waiting. In this very moment, the atmosphere around you is shifting. Something divine has been released. And whether you realize it or not, you are standing in the middle of a countdown that carries eternal weight. This is not entertainment. This is alignment. The next 90 minutes are not ordinary, they are sacred. You have felt it in your spirit, the strange heaviness, the sense that something unseen is approaching. That is not fear, that is the vibration of destiny. Heaven is tugging at your heart because your appointed hour has arrived. The angels assigned to your name have begun to move, and the whisper of the Holy Spirit is saying, "Pay attention now, before it happens." You've been through too much for this to be random. Every delay, every closed door, every unanswered prayer has been leading to this precise moment. Heaven has been orchestrating circumstances to bring you into position. There's a divine rhythm pulsing beneath the surface of your life, and the tempo has just accelerated. The time of hiding is ending. The time of revealing has begun. It was declared in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 14. Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. That is heaven's decree over you right now. Wake up. Shake off the spiritual sleep. Rise from the ashes of hesitation and doubt. The light of Christ is about to expose every lie that tried to convince you that your story was over. You are being awakened because your purpose is calling your name in the language of destiny. The Spirit says the clock has started. Do not ignore the ticking. The heavens are aligned with your obedience. For every moment you hesitate, the enemy celebrates. But when you move, heaven moves with you. The 90-minute window that stands before you is not punishment, it is opportunity. A door is open. Walk through it while it's open. Look around you, the world is asleep, distracted, drowning in noise and illusion. But not you. You can feel it, the trembling in the spirit, the divine pressure that refuses to let you rest. That pressure is purpose, and it's pushing you into movement. You were not called to blend in, you were chosen to stand out. There's a reason your spirit doesn't fit inside the boxes people built for you. You are not meant to repeat cycles, you are meant to break them. The shaking around you is not destruction, it's transition. The Lord is removing what cannot go with you into your next season. Relationships, environments, even mindsets are being sifted because the anointing on your life is too heavy for shallow spaces. This message is not for everyone. It is for those who sense that heaven has placed a spotlight on their soul. The fact that you're reading these words proves that you are part of a divine storyline. The countdown has already started, and heaven is watching for your response. When you were left behind, it wasn't rejection, it was preservation. When people misunderstood your silence, it was because heaven was rewriting your instructions. You were never behind. You were hidden until the appointed time. That appointed time has come. So listen, don't scroll away. Don't silence what you feel rising inside of you right now. That stirring is divine confirmation. Heaven is not asking for perfection. It is asking for attention. If you can still hear this call, it means mercy has not expired over your life. You've been through battles that should have destroyed you, yet you're still standing. That's not by accident. The fact that you're breathing right now is evidence that purpose refused to die in you. This is your wake-up call. The countdown is personal. The next 90 minutes will set the tone for your next 90 days, and those days can change your entire future if you align your heart. Chosen one, take a breath. This is your sign. Heaven has your attention because the next move is yours. Respond with faith, as an act of agreement with what is unfolding in the unseen. Show your obedience publicly, like, share, and subscribe. Not for vanity, but as a prophetic act of recognition. Each action is a digital echo of your yes to heaven's call. And when you do, comment this number below as your sign of alignment 417. That number seals your response. It marks the moment heaven interrupted your routine to remind you who you are. The countdown has started. Move before it happens. You feel it, don't you? The pull that refuses to let you settle. It's that invisible hand tugging at the edges of your reality, reminding you that something greater is unfolding just beyond your understanding. You've tried to shake it off, to drown it in routine or noise, but it keeps returning. It's not anxiety, it's alignment. Heaven is repositioning you, even when you don't realize it. There are moments when the Spirit speaks not through words, but through restlessness. You've been sensing that restlessness for days, maybe weeks. It visits you at night when everything is silent. It whispers in your heart when you're surrounded by people who cannot see what you carry. That feeling is the confirmation that heaven has marked your life for something beyond explanation. You may not have asked for this. You may have even wished to be ordinary, to live without the weight of calling, without the pressure of being chosen. But destiny doesn't consult your comfort. It confronts it. Every time you tried to hide, purpose found you again. Every time you convinced yourself to stop caring, something inside you refused to give up. That's what happens when you carry divine fire. It doesn't go out just because you want silence. In this season, heaven is pulling back the curtain on what has been hidden. The resistance you felt is not proof that you're off course. It's evidence that you're getting close. The enemy doesn't waste energy fighting what isn't threatening him. The reason you faced unusual opposition is because your obedience is about to unlock something in the unseen. You are a key. And the moment you turn, entire doors for others will open. The Spirit has been speaking through small moments, through interruptions, through people's sudden distance, through circumstances that forced you to pause. That pause is not punishment, it's recalibration. Heaven is making sure that when the breakthrough comes, you will be ready to carry it. If it came sooner, it would have crushed you. If it came later, it would have passed you by. But now it's right on time. There's a divine rhythm to every life surrendered to God. You might not hear the music, but your spirit moves in sync with it. Sometimes, when heaven shifts tempo, the world around you falls out of step. People start leaving, doors start closing, and confusion rises, but all of it is part of divine timing. Heaven is saying, slow down here, accelerate there, pause for this. Every beat is intentional. Every delay carries instruction. As you move deeper into awareness, notice how your spirit reacts to certain places and people. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's spiritual intelligence. You're discerning frequencies others can't. The more you align with heaven's timing, the more your spirit rejects what doesn't belong to your next season. You're not being antisocial, you're being refined. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. You are at that crossroads now. Every decision, every response, every small obedience matters. The Spirit is not asking for dramatic gestures, but for consistent surrender. Heaven moves through small yeses that build into divine momentum. Don't wait for a burning bush. God has already lit the flame inside your heart. Sometimes the pull you feel is simply the Lord saying, trust me here. Trust the silence. Trust the discomfort. Trust that the pause is purposeful. You are not being left behind, you are being strategically positioned. When the right moment comes, what took years will shift in seconds. The speed of divine fulfillment will make sense of every delay. And while you wait, Heaven watches how you handle the in-between. Will you grow bitter or will you grow deeper? The waiting room of destiny is sacred ground, for it tests your heart before promotion. Those who can remain faithful when unseen are the ones God can trust when visible. Chosen one. The pull you feel is not punishment. It's permission. Permission to release what's over. Permission to embrace what's coming. Permission to move in the direction that peace points to. Even if fear tries to hold you still, you are not losing control. You're learning surrender. Heaven is aligning your steps even when your emotions can't keep up. You don't have to understand everything right now, you just have to stay awake. Stay aware. The pull in your spirit is the compass of God's voice. Follow it. It will not fail you. You've noticed the pattern, the same uneasy silence that visits right before change comes. The same flicker in your spirit that says, something is about to happen. That's not fear or coincidence. It's the whisper of heaven guiding you through the unseen. Every delay, every strange interruption, every closed door, none of it was random. The Spirit has been speaking through the rhythm of your days, training your heart to recognize divine language. For the chosen guidance doesn't always come as thunder. Sometimes it comes as stillness. And lately, heaven has been speaking to you in whispers you can't explain. The conversation is subtle but unmistakable. Things that once excited you now feel empty. Environments that once felt familiar now feel heavy. You've outgrown them without realizing it, because heaven is pulling you higher. You've been asking, why does it feel like everything is shifting at once? Because the warning is not external, it's internal. Heaven is preparing you to discern faster, to recognize when God says move and when He says wait. What feels like confusion is actually calibration. The Spirit is fine-tuning your hearing so you can move in perfect timing. When divine acceleration approaches, heaven often sends gentle warnings to slow you down, not to stop you, but to prepare you. Every chosen one must learn the difference between divine silence and divine absence. God is not gone. He's adjusting your position. The reason the noise of the world no longer satisfies you is because your frequency has changed. Heaven speaks clearly through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 32, verse 8, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. That is God's voice over your life right now. He's not demanding perfection, He's promising guidance. Even when you can't see the next step, His eye is already on the path. The warning you sense is not to make you anxious, it's to make you attentive. The Spirit is saying, be alert, be still, listen before you move. This is not the time to let distractions lead you. What you feed your spirit with now determines what you'll hear later. Guard your space, your time, your peace. The next instruction will not come through chaos, but through quiet. Think back, how many times have you felt that sudden hesitation before doing something, that slight internal pause you couldn't explain? That was heaven. You called it intuition, but it was divine interception. The same presence that saved you then is speaking again now, urging you to pay attention before the next shift. You are being trained to live with sharper discernment. Every chosen soul must learn to sense before they see, to hear before they act. The warning is not a red light, it's preparation. Heaven doesn't want to stop you. It wants to position you for acceleration without collision. When your heart is aligned, even the smallest nudge becomes a command. You start to recognize the difference between impulse and instruction. That's where you are right now, learning to trust the invisible pull of grace. Don't fear the warning, embrace it. The fact that you can still feel conviction means heaven hasn't gone silent on you. Conviction is proof of connection. It means you're still reachable, still teachable, still loved enough to be corrected before disaster strikes. You may not realize it, but the reason you're reading this message in this exact moment is because God wanted to reach you before you take your next step. Something important lies ahead, and the Spirit wants you prepared, not panicked. Now pause, take a deep breath, let your spirit settle. Feel that awareness rising again. It's not just emotion, it's invitation. Heaven is saying, slow down enough to hear me clearly. And when you're ready, make this declaration in the comments as your act of awareness. Speak, Lord. Type it slowly, deliberately, letting the words echo through your spirit. It is not a phrase, it is surrender. It is you saying, God, I choose your voice over my impulses, your timing over my impatience, your path over my plans. Every time you write, speak, Lord, heaven recognizes it as obedience. Those two words become a doorway, an open frequency where revelation travels faster, where the noise of the world fades and the clarity of heaven becomes undeniable. Your awareness is your weapon. Your stillness is your strength. Listen now, because the voice you honor next will determine the direction your destiny takes. The next instruction is near. The next confirmation is already forming. Stay still long enough to hear it. You can feel the air around you changing, as if creation itself is holding its breath. The warnings have been given, the stirring has begun, and now you are standing in the space between revelation and responsibility. Heaven has made its move now. The question is how you will respond. Every chosen one comes to this moment. It is the hour when the unseen battle intensifies, when the enemy accelerates his plans because he senses your awakening. The darkness that once ignored you now trembles at the sound of your obedience. It knows what happens when a soul fully surrenders to divine will. Chains break. Cycles end, and purpose begins to manifest in the natural. You've probably felt that sudden increase in resistance lately, the interruptions, the misunderstandings, the heaviness that seems to appear for no reason. That's not coincidence. It's a counterattack. Every time you get close to transformation, the pressure increases. The closer light moves toward manifestation, the louder darkness becomes. The enemy is not attacking your weakness, he's targeting your potential. But even as the battle intensifies, the spirit within you remains steady. You were built for this. You were equipped before you even knew there would be a war. Long before you faced opposition, God planted endurance inside you. That's why you haven't broken yet. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is the same power sustaining you right now. According to what is revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 37. In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Those words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They remind you that victory is not a possibility, it is your identity. The storms around you may rage, but inside you is the calm of divine authority. You don't have to fight for victory, you fight from victory. Still, the enemy thrives on distraction. He will use confusion, noise, and emotional fatigue to pull your focus from what truly matters. But discernment will protect you. Not every battle deserves your response. Not every invitation to conflict is divine. Some situations are designed solely to drain your strength before the real fight begins. The Spirit is teaching you when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move and when to stand still. This is the phase of spiritual maturity where reaction gives way to revelation. You are learning that silence can be stronger than shouting, and prayer can accomplish more than argument. Heaven is calling you to conserve your energy for what actually carries eternal weight. Do not mistake stillness for surrender. Stillness is strategy. The wise do not swing wildly in the dark, they wait for light, and then strike with precision. The darkness around you may be growing louder, but that's because it knows the dawn is near. Your awareness is the dividing line between chaos and peace. When you stay spiritually alert, you become untouchable. The enemy loses power the moment you stop reacting and start discerning. That's why he fights your focus more than anything else. There will be moments when doubt whispers that you are not strong enough. But remember, strength was never the requirement. Obedience was. Heaven doesn't choose the qualified. It qualifies the chosen. Your calling was never dependent on your perfection, but on your persistence. This is the time to recognize what is truly happening. The acceleration of darkness is simply a sign that light is about to break through. You're not losing control, you're stepping into command. You are learning to operate under divine timing, to recognize spiritual currents that others ignore. The same sensitivity that once made you feel misunderstood will now become your greatest strength. So when the atmosphere feels heavy, when confusion rises, and when opposition surrounds you, remember it's confirmation, not condemnation. Heaven is still in control. You are still chosen. The very presence of warfare proves your value to the kingdom. Hold your peace. Keep your eyes fixed beyond the storm. The power that called you is not finished, it's only beginning to unfold. There's movement in the unseen, preparation in the silence, and authority being forged in the pressure. The darkness may press harder, but it cannot win. You are surrounded by fire that cannot be extinguished and guarded by a promise that cannot be broken. Soon, the acceleration will turn in your favor. The very pressure that tried to break you will launch you forward. Every attack has an expiration date, but your anointing does not. You're not fighting to survive, you're standing to shine. And heaven is watching, ready to move at the sound of your next act of faith. Something sacred begins to happen when heaven moves on your behalf. You start to feel covered. Even when you can't see the covering, you sense the shift before it reaches your eyes. In the invisible realm, angels have been released on assignment. The Spirit of God has whispered your name into their command, and even now, they're moving, clearing paths, breaking barriers, protecting what belongs to your destiny. You've wondered why certain things that should have gone wrong somehow turned in your favor at the last moment. That's not luck, that's divine intervention. There have been nights when you were one breath away from giving up, yet somehow peace arrived and strength returned. Heaven has been watching, not from a distance but from beside you. The unseen protection you've walked in was never random, it was a shield carried by grace. There comes a time when heaven moves closer to the chosen ones, when protection becomes partnership. The angels assigned to your journey are not there to live your story for you. They are there to amplify your obedience. But heaven always requires agreement. The moment you respond with faith, the spiritual becomes tangible. It was declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 7, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you." That's heaven's invitation to you. God never forces, never demands, He invites. He offers partnership in the same way the ocean invites the river to flow into it. The ocean doesn't chase the river, it simply opens its arms and waits for surrender. Right now, you are being invited into that same current partnership with what heaven is doing. Every message, every word released here, every whisper of encouragement you receive is part of that flow. And when something speaks to your spirit, when it lifts you, strengthens you, or brings clarity, that's a divine exchange. Heaven pours out and you receive. But in every flow, there is also a return. Giving is not a transaction, it's participation. It's how we tell heaven, I believe in what you're doing here, just like a candle doesn't lose light by lighting another. Your generosity never leaves you empty. It multiplies warmth, it extends reach, and it keeps the flame alive. If these messages have carried peace to your heart, if they've met you in moments when you needed clarity or hope, then consider sowing back into the stream that poured into you. Think of it not as payment but as planting. A seed doesn't buy the rain. It simply opens itself to receive more of it. Your donation is a drop of oil for the lamp. Every time you choose to give, you pour light into the flame that keeps this message burning for others. To donate is not to pay, it is to keep the lantern filled so more travelers can see their road at night. When you like or share, imagine yourself striking a match in the darkness, sending sparks down a long corridor so others can find their way. When you subscribe, it's as if you're anchoring a small ship to this harbor of faith, choosing to return whenever your soul needs calm water again. There's no demand here. There's no price tag on grace. This is simply an invitation to walk with us, to be part of the movement that heaven started through this message. If your heart feels stirred, if you sense that quiet nudge that says, "Be part of this," then follow it. Your giving is not about amount, it's about alignment. And if right now you don't feel led to give, that's completely fine. The message itself is the gift. Keep listening. Keep growing. Your presence here is already a form of support. Every time you listen, like, or share, you're spreading light farther than you can see. But if your spirit feels that gentle prompting, then let your generosity be your worship. Let your act of giving be a whisper to heaven that says, "I want to keep this light burning for others." The truth is, every small act of kindness, sharing, subscribing, or donating becomes a ripple in eternity. You may never know the full impact of what you release, but heaven keeps the record. And one day, you'll see how your light helped someone else rise. So breathe and listen. This is not about obligation, it's about overflow. Let what was poured into you flow freely outward. That's how divine partnership works. Heaven gives, you receive, and together, you keep the fire alive. The air feels different now, doesn't it? There's something sacred stirring around you, an invisible countdown that no clock can measure. You can sense it in your chest, in the stillness between your breaths. Heaven has opened a short window, a moment of mercy wrapped in mystery. This is not punishment, it is preparation. These minutes are an invitation from eternity to align your heart before the next chapter begins. You've been feeling that pressure, that quiet urgency, as if something beyond you is whispering. Don't delay this time. That whisper is not fear. It is grace calling you forward. The Spirit is giving you a divine opportunity to choose alignment before the door shifts again. This isn't about rushing, it's about readiness. The Word of God declares in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2, "Now is the time of God's favor, now is the day of salvation." Heaven is saying now, not next week, not when things feel safer, not when you think you're ready. The moment you feel the stirring is the moment heaven expects your response. Mercy is not infinite, it moves like a tide. It rises, waits, and if ignored, it withdraws. You are being offered a tide of favor, a 90-minute window of divine visitation, and heaven is watching for how you respond. In the unseen, angels record moments like this. They do not measure wealth, beauty, or fame, they measure response. And right now, your heart's response is echoing in eternity. Do not mistake delay for safety. The enemy whispers, "There's still time," because he knows the longer you wait, the quieter conviction becomes. Chosen one, you've spent too many seasons apologizing for being different. downplaying your spiritual sensitivity as if it were weakness. But that sensitivity is heaven's fingerprint on your soul. It's what keeps you awake while others sleep. It's what makes you feel unsettled in comfort zones that no longer fit you. You are not being punished for feeling too deeply, you are being prepared to carry revelation. This 90-minute window of grace is a divine pause. Everything around you might seem ordinary, but spiritually, the air is charged. Decisions made now carry weight beyond emotion, they determine direction. God is not testing your strength, He's revealing your readiness. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Joel, saying that in the last days the Lord would pour out His Spirit on all flesh. That moment isn't future tense anymore, it's now. What you feel is the fulfillment of that promise pressing against time itself. You are being invited to make a conscious declaration that you choose obedience before opportunity. Heaven moves fastest when your spirit says yes before your circumstances make sense. This is not about rushing. It's about trust. The door you've been praying for is opening, but heaven needs your agreement before it swings wide. Every choice you make from here will ripple through your timeline like light through water. The peace you've been searching for will not come from control, it will come from surrender. Sometimes the most powerful act of faith is simply to stay still and say, "I trust you, Lord." But before you move into what's next, mark this moment. Let heaven know you heard. The act of acknowledging this divine hour sets your spirit apart from hesitation. It says, "I am aware and I am ready." So right now, take a deep breath and leave your sign of agreement below. Comment this prophetic number 144. This number represents alignment, restoration, and divine structure. When you write 144, it's not superstition, it's symbolism. It means you are choosing to come into order with what heaven is building in your life. You are saying, "My time, my purpose, and my calling are coming into divine sequence." Type it once, intentionally. Don't rush it. Let it be your digital altar, a simple act that says, "I hear you, Lord, and I will not delay." Heaven sees even that small gesture and records it as faith. Remember, this window of mercy isn't about fear, it's about awakening. The Spirit has set this time apart for you to respond, to align, to step into what's already prepared. Don't let it pass unrecognized. Heaven rarely repeats a moment once it has been released. The countdown continues. The choice is simple. Respond now and watch how heaven moves in response to you. When you comment 144, you're not typing a number, you're setting your foundation. Each digit represents divine order, forming the pillars that hold your future steady in grace. Let 144 be your covenant mark, your spiritual footprint in this moment of alignment. It is heaven's reminder that your timing and destiny are finally walking in rhythm. The stillness that follows revelation often feels like silence, but silence is rarely empty. It is the sound of heaven rearranging the unseen. When everything around you goes quiet after a moment of spiritual clarity, it's not abandonment, it's transition. Heaven pauses not to withhold from you, but to prepare what's next. This is the silence before the shift. You might feel disconnected right now, as though the voice that guided you has stepped back. But this distance is not punishment, it is divine spacing. Like a teacher who watches while the student practices the lesson, heaven allows room for application. The instruction has already been given. The silence is simply your chance to prove that you trust it. Faith grows strongest in quiet soil. It's in these silent hours that roots dig deeper. Heaven knows that if your spirit only thrives when it feels constant reassurance, it will crumble when storms come. So silence is strength training for your faith. The absence of noise is the presence of maturity. There's something beautiful in realizing that God is often closest when He seems farthest. When the volume of your life lowers, the whispers become clearer. The Holy Spirit rarely competes with chaos. He waits until you choose stillness. This is why the quiet seasons, though uncomfortable, are the most defining ones. You may remember the moments when God spoke loudly through miracles, breakthroughs, and undeniable signs. But the mark of spiritual growth is when you can still hear Him in the subtle shift of peace, in the quiet knowing that doesn't shout but anchors. It's in that knowing that transformation begins. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6 and verse 6, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." This verse reveals the mystery of silence. It's not a void, it's a secret chamber. Every chosen one must learn to enter that inner room where noise cannot follow. In that hidden place, your spirit stops performing and starts listening. The Father meets you not through sensation but through stillness. You are learning now that spiritual maturity doesn't depend on constant activity. The world celebrates noise results, achievements, applause, but heaven celebrates endurance. When you can remain still without losing faith, you've stepped into true strength. In this silence, God is not testing your patience, He is anchoring your peace. Every unanswered question is being written into a story that will make sense later. The silence before the shift is a sacred womb where promises form. You may not see the movement, but creation is happening underneath. Think of the seed buried in the ground. It is surrounded by darkness, unseen by light. Yet it is in that hidden soil that transformation begins. The silence is not the end of the process, it is the beginning of manifestation. The noise stops because roots are growing. This is why heaven sometimes presses pause on everything around you. The conversations slow down, opportunities seem to stall. The usual clarity fades. Heaven does that to protect the fragility of what's forming inside you. Premature exposure could destroy what silence is trying to strengthen. So when you feel overlooked, remember you are not forgotten. You are being formed. The silence is not punishment, it's proof that you are being trusted with something delicate. Heaven doesn't grow loud things fast, it grows eternal things quietly. You might not be able to describe what's happening, but that's because language belongs to the visible world, and you're dealing with the invisible. The Spirit is teaching you a new rhythm, one that isn't built on reaction, but on rest. Stay still. Let the silence speak. Let the quiet rebuild the spaces inside you that noise once filled. You don't have to understand the process. You just have to remain present in it. When the shift finally comes, and it will, it won't start with a thunderclap. It will start with a whisper, a change in atmosphere, a soft assurance that the waiting was worth it. You'll realize the silence was never empty. It was full of preparation. So let the quiet do its work. Let it teach you that peace is not the absence of movement, but the awareness of divine order. The silence before the shift is not the end of your story, it's the sacred inhale before the exhale of destiny. In silence, heaven breathes strength into your bone. Every unseen moment of stillness is God's way of building endurance where your emotions once lived in fear. Hold your peace and stay present. For when the quiet breaks, it will not bring noise, it will bring direction wrapped in the calm voice of destiny. Every chosen one eventually faces a battle not of strength, but of recognition. The struggle is no longer against enemies you can see, it's against misunderstanding, rejection, and the weight of being unseen. You felt it in the way people look at you but never truly see you, in the way your purpose feels too big for the spaces you stand in. This is not failure, it is refinement. Heaven uses misunderstanding to separate applause from authenticity. You were never meant to be fully understood by everyone around you. If you were, your mission would be ordinary. The misjudgment you've endured is heaven's way of filtering your circle, removing the voices that would have weakened your faith. Every season of misunderstanding is a purification of influence. God is not punishing you by isolating you. He's protecting the purity of what He planted in you. When people walked away, it wasn't a loss. It was alignment. Some couldn't stay because their vision was too small for the magnitude of what you carry. Their departure was painful, yes, but it was necessary. They saw your preparation and mistook it for confusion. They saw your waiting and called it weakness. But heaven saw something different. It saw strength being built in silence. There is something sacred about being unseen. It's the place where motives are tested and character is forged. Before God reveals a chosen one, He hides them. The hiding doesn't mean rejection, it means protection. Diamonds aren't displayed in the marketplace while they're still being formed. They are kept underground, under pressure, until the time is right for revelation. The Spirit spoke through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 31, verse 20. You hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of men. You keep them secretly in a shelter from the strife of tongues. Those words describe your current season perfectly. You are hidden in divine presence, protected from the reach of misunderstanding. People might try to label you, but heaven already named you. You carry an identity that can't be reduced by human perception. Every false accusation, every unfair judgment, every moment you had to defend yourself against what wasn't true, all of it has been building your discernment. You're learning not to react to everything that challenges you. You're learning to let silence answer where words would waste your energy. There's a quiet dignity that comes with knowing who you are, even when others don't. The misunderstanding was necessary to remind you that your validation cannot come from man. The moment you stop seeking approval from people is the moment your anointing grows sharper. Approval limits power because it ties your obedience to the applause of others. But the chosen must obey even when no one claps. That's what makes your calling unstoppable. It's painful to be misread, to be seen as something you're not. But every misunderstanding has been heaven's shield, guarding your purpose from premature exposure. If people had celebrated you too early, they might have trapped you in expectations smaller than your true assignment. So instead, heaven allowed you to walk through seasons of being underestimated. You were being refined while the world was unaware of your transformation. Think of Joseph, misunderstood by his brothers, thrown into a pit, forgotten in a prison, yet every hidden place became a stepping stone to his palace. You're walking the same path. Misunderstanding doesn't delay destiny, it disguises it. While people debate your identity, heaven is establishing it. You are stepping into a stage where the same mouths that questioned you will be the ones to witness your revealing. But when that day comes, don't seek revenge. Seek reflection. You'll see how every false word shaped your endurance, how every misunderstanding became the soil where wisdom grew. In this season, heaven is teaching you to wear peace like armor, to no longer justify yourself to those committed to misjudging you, to let your fruit speak for you when your words no longer can. The more you stop defending your worth, the clearer your purpose becomes. The battle of recognition is not about proving who you are, it's about remembering who you were called to be. When you know that, you stop striving to be seen. The unseen begins to serve you. Heaven elevates you when you stop chasing validation and start embracing separation. You are not losing favor, you are being refined for visibility. The darkness around you is simply the backdrop against which your light will stand out. When the time comes, your emergence will not need explanation. It will speak for itself. So rest in the mystery. Trust the misunderstanding. Let heaven complete its filtering. The moment of revealing is closer than it feels. And when it comes, every season of silence will make sense. You've arrived at the narrow threshold, the point where destiny and decision meet. Everything up to this moment has been preparation, every silence, every battle, every misunderstanding. Now, heaven is waiting for one thing: your response. You are standing on sacred ground, the edge of transition, where one choice can rewrite an entire season. The atmosphere feels charged because something is about to move, not in the physical, but in the unseen. Your spirit senses it, the trembling before transformation. This is not imagination, this is invitation. Heaven is opening a door, but it will not push you through. It will only wait for your yes. You can't carry old hesitation into new seasons. The threshold demands decision. The next chapter of your story will not be written by your fear, but by your faith. The question is simple: will you step, or will you stay? There is power in a single act of surrender. The Word of God declares in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, "I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." That verse isn't just history, it's prophecy spoken again, right now, over your spirit. The Father places before you two paths: hesitation or obedience, delay or destiny. Heaven will not choose for you, but it will honor what you choose. You already feel the weight of that choice. The tug in your chest is not fear, it's divine urgency. Your destiny is whispering. Don't pause here. The hesitation that once protected you from pain will now prevent you from purpose. The comfort zone that once felt safe is now a cage made of fear. Every chosen one must reach this point, the place where trust outweighs logic. It's where you learn that obedience is not about understanding everything, but about believing that God does. The doorway doesn't open through explanation. It opens through faith. You don't need every detail to take your step. You only need assurance that you're not walking alone. Heaven walks with those who move when called. And right now, you are being called not to perfection, but to participation. This is your threshold moment, your divine decision hour. You can sense that if you stay where you are, something sacred will fade. The mercy that waits will move forward, and heaven will begin writing with those who responded. The call of destiny is patient but not permanent. It lingers for those who listen. This is not a warning of fear, but of invitation. The Spirit is saying, step forward before the door closes. The noise of uncertainty will tell you it's too soon, but the peace inside you knows it's now. Peace always precedes the right move. You are not being asked to be perfect, only willing. Heaven never demanded flawless steps, only faithful ones. Every giant leap of faith begins as a trembling decision in the dark. So take this moment and breathe. Feel the gravity of this pause, the quiet before obedience. Heaven is watching not to judge you, but to celebrate you when you move. The angels that surrounded your silence are now standing at attention, waiting for the moment your will aligns with divine instruction. And when you sense the timing, respond. Let heaven hear it through your faith and through your declaration. Write these words below: I step forward. Type them as a seal of surrender. They're not just words, they're movement. When you declare I step forward, you are making an invisible decision visible. You are telling heaven, I will no longer delay my destiny. Every time you type those words, you break the agreement with fear and sign a new covenant with faith. It's a symbolic step, small in the natural, seismic in the spirit. The threshold will not wait forever. Heaven is holding its breath, ready to open the next door the moment your obedience touches it. So write it now, speak it now, and believe it the moment you say it. Heaven moves. I step forward. 3 words, but they echo louder than every reason you've given to wait. When you comment, I step forward. You are planting your decision into time. It is heaven's signal that you are ready to trade fear for faith's horizon. Each letter you type becomes a spiritual footprint, marking the soil of obedience. Heaven watches your declaration and calls angels to prepare the path ahead. It's not just text, it's testimony. Those 3 words are the sound of courage awakening, a quiet announcement that your new season has already begun. You can almost hear it, the distant sound of awakening. It isn't loud, but it's steady, like the first heartbeat after a long sleep. Heaven is calling your name again, this time not to warn or to wait, but to awaken. This is the sound of destiny stirring from rest. The season of silence is breaking, and what has been forming in secret is ready to breathe. When heaven awakens you, it doesn't shout, it sings. It begins with gentle reminders, the sudden memory of an old dream, the unexpected peace that enters your room at night, the strange tears that come without explanation. These are not random moments. They're the echoes of the Spirit calling you home to purpose. You are being reintroduced to your own fire. The light you thought had gone out was only hidden beneath ashes of exhaustion and doubt, but heaven is blowing on those embers now. The faint spark you feel inside, that's revival beginning. The Word of God declares in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11, "The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." This isn't a new call, it's a renewal of what has always been inside you. You were born to carry light, to speak peace, to shift atmospheres. The very things that tried to break you were actually the chisels shaping your strength. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every lonely hour, they weren't wasted. They were shaping your sensitivity, tuning your heart to hear the faint music of heaven. Now the melody is changing. The tempo of your life is quickening because heaven is ready to move through you. The same voice that whispered wait is now whispering go. But this time, it's not just about what you receive, it's about what you give. When light awakens, it spreads. You were never meant to hold it alone. What's been poured into you must flow outward like rivers returning to the sea, like breath exhaled after being held too long. The awakening becomes complete only when you share it. When you like or share, you're not just clicking, you're scattering seeds of light into the unseen. Somewhere, someone scrolling through darkness will find the spark you passed along. That's how awakening multiplies, one flame touching another until the whole horizon glows. When you subscribe, imagine yourself planting an anchor in this current of grace, a promise to keep returning whenever the world grows loud, to refill your spirit at the same stream that refreshed you before. And if your heart feels stirred to go beyond that, to give back in gratitude, then let your generosity become part of the awakening. When you donate, you're not giving to a screen. You're pouring oil into the lamp that lights the path for others still wandering. Every gift, no matter how small, is a drop of flame that keeps the fire alive. This isn't obligation, it's overflow. Like rain returning to the clouds, your giving completes the circle of grace. You were never asked to pay for what heaven gives freely, only to participate in its movement. If a word here has brought peace to your spirit, then see your giving as a thank you note to heaven for finding you in the noise. Because generosity isn't about money. It's about meaning. It's a spiritual rhythm. Inhale revelation, exhale gratitude. That rhythm keeps your heart alive and keeps the message moving. You might never meet the ones your giving will reach. You might never hear their names or see their faces, but one day when stories are told in eternity, you'll hear how your small act of faith became someone else's turning point. That's how light travels quietly, beautifully, endlessly. So let your awakening continue. If your heart feels full, let it overflow. Like, share, or subscribe not because you must, but because your spirit wants to. Do it as a way of saying, I choose to stay connected to the light that called me awake. And if you give, do it with peace. Imagine placing your seed into the soil of eternity, knowing that what leaves your hand never leaves God's sight. Every drop of kindness, every act of support becomes part of a chain reaction of hope. The sound of awakening is growing stronger now. Can you hear it? It's not just heaven calling, it's heaven answering your yes. The same God who woke your spirit is now preparing to awaken others through you. So let your light move, let it travel, let it multiply. The dawn has begun and the world is waiting for the sound of your flame. Something begins to shift when obedience meets time. What was once a promise starts to take form, not through sudden miracles, but through quiet transformation. You begin to see pieces aligning, the right words at the right moment, people showing up unexpectedly, peace arriving before answers. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations that heaven has started the chain reaction of your breakthrough. Every generation has a moment when chains begin to crack. For some, it happens in prayer, for others in surrender. But for you, it is happening in awareness. The things that once bound you no longer hold the same power. Habits that once felt unbreakable now feel unnecessary. You are stepping into a freedom that does not shout, it simply exists. Freedom is not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet morning when your heart feels light for no reason. Sometimes it's realizing you no longer chase the same validation that used to define your worth. The chains don't fall with a crash, they dissolve in silence. That's how you know heaven has done it. It was written in the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verse 1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. This freedom is not fragile, it's fortified. It's not the kind that fades when life gets hard. It's the kind that deepens under pressure. Every time you refuse to go back to what once controlled you, heaven celebrates. Each act of resistance is an act of worship. The breaking of chains is not just about escape, it's about identity. You are no longer the person who needs to be rescued. You are becoming the one who carries rescue to others. What you once begged God to remove, you now use as testimony. The very weight that almost broke you has become the evidence of strength. Look at your life now. The patterns are shifting. Conversations that once triggered you no longer do. Temptations that once felt irresistible now meet silence. The same situations that used to cause fear now reveal peace. This is what transformation looks like from the inside. It's slow, steady, and real. But freedom must be guarded, not through fear, but through focus. The enemy cannot rechain what heaven has already unlocked, but he can distract you from walking in it. That's why discernment is vital now. Guard your mind from voices that glorify chaos. Guard your heart from guilt that disguises itself as humility. Guard your time as if it were treasure, because it is. The Spirit is teaching you how to live free, not just be free. Then there's a difference. Many are freed from their prisons, but still think like prisoners. They leave the cell, but carry the walls inside them. Real deliverance is when your thoughts stop bowing to what no longer owns you. You are learning that peace is not permission to relax, it's preparation for purpose. For the freedom you walk in is not selfish, it's generational. When you break a cycle, heaven doesn't just celebrate you, it secures those who will come after you. Your victory is someone else's inheritance. That's why the battle felt personal. It wasn't just about you. You were breaking what had claimed your bloodline for years. The addiction, the fear, the self-doubt, they were never only yours to fight. You carried the strength to end something that began long before you were born. This is the power of the chosen. Your yes to freedom becomes a door for others to walk through. That's why hell resisted you so fiercely. It knew that if you ever discovered your authority, the chains would not just fall off you, they would crumble for those connected to you. Now you walk differently. You carry quiet authority, a peace that doesn't need to prove itself. You don't react to everything anymore because you've learned that not every battle deserves your presence. You've realized that peace is not retreat, it's control. You don't chase closure, you carry it. The atmosphere around you feels lighter now because you're no longer carrying what wasn't yours to hold. The weight you used to drag has become your testimony. The scars that once embarrassed you now tell the story of survival. The chains didn't just fall, they taught you how to stand. This is what heaven means when it says you are free indeed. Not empty freedom that fades, but deep liberation that anchors. You don't have to explain it, people will see it. The lightness in your eyes, the calm in your responses, the confidence in your silence, all of it will testify. So breathe. You are no longer bound. The sound of chains has been replaced with the rhythm of freedom. The same hands that once trembled in fear now carry authority. And the same voice that once cried for rescue now speaks release. You are not waiting for deliverance anymore. You are walking in it. There are moments when heaven doesn't speak in sentences, it speaks in symbols. You've seen it before, the repetition of certain numbers. The way time seems to pause at the same minute again and again. The way patterns echo around you as if the universe is trying to remind you that your story is written with precision. These moments are not random. They are divine nudges, gentle reminders that your path is guided, your steps are ordered, and your seasons are measured by heaven's rhythm, not man's calendar. When your heart begins to awaken to that truth, everything changes. You stop rushing, you start noticing. You begin to realize that God's voice is not always loud, it's layered. It's hidden in timing, in signs, in repetition. The numbers you keep seeing are not coincidences, they are coordinates. Heaven is showing you where you are on your journey. As the Word of God reveals in the book of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. That verse holds a secret. Heaven's numbering is not about counting time, it's about recognizing purpose. When you understand the divine sequence of your life, wisdom awakens inside you. You stop measuring success by how fast things happen and begin to measure it by how deeply you trust. There is a number heaven has placed before you in this season, 888. 888 is the symbol of new beginnings multiplied. It represents resurrection, renewal, and restoration. In biblical meaning, the number 8 signifies a new start the day after completion. When heaven repeats it 3 times, it declares not just one new beginning, but the overflow of them. It's a sign that your old chapter has officially expired and that fresh grace has been released for what comes next. When you write 888, you're not just typing digits, you're speaking a prophecy over yourself. You're saying, I choose to begin again. I release the old cycles. I receive the new flow of grace. This number is heaven's way of telling you that endings are not failures, they are the soil where beginnings are planted. What you thought was over is actually being rewritten in resurrection form. The door that closed did not lock behind you. It redirected you towards something better aligned with your destiny. The number 888 carries the same breath that brought life to dry bones, the same sound that rolled the stone away from the tomb. It's a reminder that nothing truly dies when it belongs to God, it transforms. Take a quiet moment and let that truth sink in. Feel the calmness of divine timing wrap around your soul. When you comment 888, you're aligning yourself with heaven's renewal cycle. You're saying, Lord, I accept my rebirth. I won't mourn what you've already resurrected. This act isn't superstition, it's symbolism. Heaven honors simple acts of faith. Your comment is not for visibility, it's for remembrance. It becomes a digital altar, a visible echo of an invisible decision. The Spirit doesn't need sound to recognize faith. It recognizes surrender. Grace has turned the page. What once drained you is releasing you. What once closed is preparing to open in a higher dimension. You are not repeating the past, you are being rebuilt beyond it. When you type 888, let each 8 remind you of a truth, the first for your release, the second for your renewal, the third for your resurrection. Together they form heaven's signature over your new chapter. This is your sign that what's next is not a continuation of what was, it's creation itself. You're stepping into something completely new, shaped by grace and guarded by purpose. Heaven is counting differently now, not in endings, but in evolutions. Every moment ahead of you will carry the pulse of renewal. You are stepping into the rhythm of divine rebirth, and heaven is already rejoicing. Comment 888 below as your declaration that new beginnings are here, and this time, they will not end in sorrow, but in glory. When you comment 888, you are marking the moment heaven rewrote your timeline. Each 8 becomes a doorway, release, renewal, and rebirth, 3 stages of divine transformation unfolding in sequence. Your declaration tells heaven, I am ready for resurrection. The number isn't power itself, it's partnership. It's your faith connecting with the pattern God placed before you. 888 is your reminder that grace never ends, it only begins again. This is your covenant with restoration, a promise that even ashes can rise radiant once more. In the courtroom of heaven, time stands still. The atmosphere is heavy with purpose, the air alive with unspoken decrees. Your name has been mentioned not as accusation, but as assignment. There is movement in the unseen, the sound of scrolls unrolling, of destinies being reviewed. Every prayer you whispered in pain, every act of obedience unseen by others, every tear that fell in silence, they have all become evidence before the throne. Nothing has been wasted. You may have thought heaven was silent, but heaven has been recording. Every small yes, every quiet act of faith, every decision to keep going when it hurt, all of it has been written in eternal ink. The delay you felt was not denial, it was deliberation. The judge of all creation has been preparing a verdict on your behalf. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 10, reveals this mystery. The court was seated and the books were opened. Right now, those books are open over your life, not to condemn, but to confirm. Heaven is reviewing your record, not to find fault, but to finalize favor. Every accusation the enemy has brought against you is being silenced by the evidence of grace. The same blood that covered you is now speaking for you, louder than every word of failure or fear. This is not a courtroom of fear, it is one of mercy. The voice that thunders here is not one of wrath, but of justice fulfilled. The Father is not angry. He is righteous. He does not punish without purpose. Every test, every trial, every breaking point was part of the refining that made you ready for this moment. The verdict that is being prepared over your life is not guilty. It is approved. You've been through the process long enough to understand that not everything painful was evil. Some suffering was sacred. Some disappointment was divine redirection. The pain that once felt like punishment was actually preparation for promotion. Heaven was building credibility into your calling, maturity into your mantle. There is a silence in the courtroom now, the kind that carries weight. Angels stand as witnesses. The Spirit Himself testifies on your behalf. Heaven's eyes are on you, not with suspicion, but with affection. The judge is not sitting behind a wall of separation. He is seated on a throne of compassion. When God speaks your verdict, everything changes. The delays break. The resistance dissolves. The spiritual weight shifts. One decree from His mouth reorders every timeline, every assignment, every closed door. You do not have to fight for vindication. You only have to remain still while the verdict is announced. Vindication does not come through argument, it comes through evidence. And heaven has gathered more than enough evidence of your faithfulness. When others doubted you, heaven recorded your endurance. When you forgave what wounded you, heaven noted your obedience. When you stayed humble after rejection, heaven recognized your integrity. The verdict being written now is not merely for your relief, it's for your release. Heaven is clearing your name in the unseen so that what was delayed can finally be delivered. You are about to walk into spaces where your presence will be the proof of divine justice. Those who misunderstood you will witness the restoration they could never imagine. Still, remember, this vindication is not about proving others wrong, it's about proving God right. The same grace that defends you is also redeeming those who spoke against you. Heaven's justice is not fueled by revenge, it's rooted in restoration. When the verdict is announced, it won't bring shame to your enemies, it will bring clarity to everyone involved. So stand tall. The courtroom of heaven is not a place to fear, it's a place to breathe. You are not the accused anymore, you are the affirmed. The accuser's voice is growing faint because the evidence of grace is undeniable. The chains of guilt are breaking not because you explained yourself, but because mercy intervened. The gavel of heaven has been raised. The declaration that follows will not just free you, it will position you. The verdict will not end your story, it will rewrite it. Everything that has been against you is being turned into testimony. Every no that hurt will make sense under the new yes heaven has prepared. In this divine courtroom, justice is not a moment, it's a movement. Heaven's decree over your life is being sealed now, written not in ink but in fire. You have been found faithful, not flawless. And in heaven's law, that is enough. The verdict stands, you are released. You are restored. You are redeemed. There are moments when heaven feels closer than breath, when the atmosphere around you seems charged with quiet electricity, and you sense that something monumental has already been decided. You've been through the breaking, the silence, the refining, and the courtroom of heaven has spoken. Now, you stand on the threshold of fulfillment, the place where promise meets manifestation. This is the crowning moment, the time when everything you endured begins to make sense. For so long, you carried weight that no one saw. You shouldered assignments that seemed far beyond your strength. Yet even in exhaustion, you refused to lay down your calling. Heaven took note of that kind of faith, the kind that doesn't perform for attention but persists out of conviction. That's why this next season will not come through striving. It will come through reward. The crown you are receiving now is not made of gold or jewels, it's made of endurance. It's forged from every moment you chose love over bitterness, forgiveness over resentment, patience over pride. Each test you passed in silence has become a gem set into your spiritual crown. And when heaven places it upon your life, it won't glitter to impress. It will radiate to illuminate. As the apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians chapter 9, verse 25, they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we do it for an imperishable one. The imperishable crown is not given to those who win easily, it's given to those who didn't quit when quitting made sense. You've earned it not through perfection, but through persistence. You didn't get everything right, but you kept your heart right. That's the posture heaven rewards. In the unseen, angels move with ceremony. The crown is not handed to you in one grand moment, but in stages. It comes through peace first, then favor, then purpose restored. You'll begin to notice the small signs, burdens lifting, opportunities returning, a sense of alignment where confusion once lived. The crown isn't something you wear on your head, it's something heaven places upon your life. It's visible not to eyes, but to spirits. This is why you'll notice people responding to you differently. Some will be drawn to your presence without understanding why. Others will feel conviction when they stand near you. That's not arrogance, that's authority. When heaven crowns someone, their atmosphere changes. You won't need to announce it, the grace will speak louder than your words. The crown doesn't come to elevate your ego, it comes to confirm your endurance. It's heaven's way of saying, you passed the test of time. The seasons that tried to bury you became the seasons that built you. The trials that seemed designed to destroy you actually carved your capacity for leadership. You can now carry what once would have crushed you. But with every crown comes weight. Authority is not light, it's sacred. You're no longer being refined for yourself, you're being trusted for others. The favor on your life is not a decoration, it's a mantle. Heaven is entrusting you with influence, and that means your words, your actions, your silence, all of it now carries power. Do not fear this responsibility. Heaven does not place crowns on the unready. The same Spirit that strengthened you through fire will sustain you in glory. Your humility will protect your authority. The crown is not a symbol of status, it's a call to service. It means heaven trusts you to lead from love, not control, from compassion, not pride. In this season of crowning, expect quiet recognition, not applause. The greatest confirmations won't come from people, they'll come from peace. You'll begin to feel settled where you once felt scattered. You'll look back at battles that once terrified you and realize you no longer feel their weight. That's what victory feels like. It's not loud, it's light. The crowning moment is heaven's way of closing a chapter without ceremony. You won't need validation because the evidence will speak. Doors will open naturally. Favor will follow effortlessly, and opportunities will find you without striving. These are not rewards for labor, they're the fruit of alignment. Remember this truth, crowns are not worn, they're carried. They don't make you greater than others, they remind you that greatness was always service disguised as struggle. The crown doesn't make you divine, it proves you remained devoted when no one was watching. So stand tall. The same heaven that refined you through pressure now adorns you with purpose. You are not being promoted for what you've done, but for who you've become. And that, chosen one, is what true royalty looks like, not a throne of pride, but a posture of surrender. Your crown is not the end of the story, then it's the sign that your next assignment has begun. The air feels heavier now, not with burden, but with beauty. You've walked through the silence, endured the testing, received your crown, and now heaven whispers the final alarm. Not a warning of fear, but a call of remembrance. This is the moment where light asks to be shared, where revelation becomes responsibility. Every message you've received, every word that stirred your spirit was never meant to end with you. Revelation only fulfills its purpose when it travels. The light that awakened you is meant to awaken others through you. Heaven is asking, will you carry it forward? When a candle refuses to share its flame, it remains alone in its brightness. But when one flame touches another, darkness loses territory. This is what it means to carry light, not to boast that you have it, but to ensure that others can see by it. The message you've received is not yours to keep. It's a flame entrusted to your care. The Apostle Paul reminds us in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 2, verse 15. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life. These words are not about perfection, they are about reflection. When your light shines, it doesn't point to you, it points to the source. And the simplest way to let your light travel is to let the message travel with it. When you like or share, it's not an algorithmic gesture, it's a spiritual echo. It's you holding your candle higher so another soul can see their path. Somewhere, someone is sitting in quiet despair, waiting for a word like this. You may never know their name, but heaven does. Your small act of sharing becomes a bridge between their pain and their peace. When you subscribe, it's like returning to a sacred well. You're telling heaven, I will come back for water whenever I thirst again. The act isn't mechanical, it's relational. It's choosing consistency with your spiritual nourishment. Each return strengthens your roots, and strong roots bear lasting fruit. And then, there is the deeper invitation to give, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. When you donate, imagine pouring a drop of oil into a lamp that burns for many. That single drop joins thousands of others until the light reaches corners you'll never see. Every act of generosity is a spark in eternity. Think of your giving as participation, not payment. You're not funding words, you're fueling transformation. You're not buying blessings, you're building bridges of hope for those still wandering in the dark. Just as rain returns to the sky, your giving always returns multiplied in peace, in clarity, in divine alignment. Heaven never demands generosity. It invites it. The same hand that gave to you now gives through you. Every contribution, whether time, love, prayer, or provision, becomes part of a larger movement of mercy. It's the quiet agreement between heaven and earth that says, I will keep this light burning. When you listen to words like these, you're not just consuming inspiration, you're becoming a carrier of it. And the moment you act, in whatever way your heart leads, the message expands beyond this space. The light becomes movement. The story becomes legacy. If your heart feels stirred, don't analyze it, honor it. When something moves inside you, it's the Spirit's way of saying, this matters. Whether that means sharing the flame, returning to the source, or adding oil to the lamp, it's all worship. And if today you choose to act to like, share, subscribe, comment, or give, do it quietly, beautifully, as a sacred offering. No pressure, no demand, only gratitude. Let it be your whisper to heaven that says, I want this light to keep reaching hearts. Leave a comment below, just a word of light, a small echo of what touched you. Think of it as adding your voice to a choir of souls. Each word another spark in the vast constellation of grace. Because one act of faith can ripple through generations. One flame can light 1,000 more. And when all the candles burn together, darkness doesn't stand a chance. So breathe and listen. The final alarm isn't a call to panic, it's a call to participation. You are part of something living, something luminous, something eternal. Carry the light forward. Let your small flame become a sunrise, Every share is a seed of dawn, every comment a spark finding wings. Together, we are not a crowd. We are constellations of courage lighting the sky of tomorrow. When you choose to give or return, heaven writes your name in light. You become both the flame and the reflection, proof that generosity and glory speak the same language. It happens quietly at first, the separation of light, not through conflict or noise, but through clarity. You begin to see what aligns with your purpose and what doesn't. What once blended together now begins to divide. Heaven is drawing lines, not to isolate you, but to identify you. This is the moment when those who truly hear begin to rise, and those who choose silence drift away. You may not have asked for this separation, but it comes as part of every divine calling. For light to shine fully, it must stand apart from shadow. Every chosen one must walk through this holy division, where the familiar fades and the faithful remain. It's not rejection, it's refinement. Heaven separates not to punish, but to purify. When God begins to separate, He's not removing people to make you lonely. He's clearing space to make you holy. You can't carry every voice into your next chapter. Some connections were seasonal. Others were sent to shape, not to stay. The pain of letting go is often the proof that heaven is positioning you. The Spirit spoke through the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 4. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. That verse wasn't just about the creation of the world, it was about the creation of clarity. God didn't destroy the darkness. He simply set it apart so that light could fulfill its purpose. That same principle is moving in your life now. You are being separated not from love, but from limitation. This season may feel strange because everything familiar begins to shift. People who once understood you may grow quiet. Conversations that once flowed may feel heavy. Dreams that used to excite you might now feel too small. It's not because something's wrong with you, it's because your spirit has expanded. You no longer fit the places that used to contain you. It's the same way a bird feels before it learns to fly. The nest that once felt safe becomes too tight. The discomfort you feel is divine. Heaven is urging you toward the open sky. Separation is not the end of belonging. It's the beginning of becoming. You're learning now that peace is not found in staying connected to everyone, it's found in staying connected to purpose. Some distances are sacred. Sometimes God allows misunderstanding to protect the purity of what He's doing in you. When people misinterpret your silence or your change, remember they are not rejecting you, they are reacting to your growth. There's a stillness that comes with divine separation. At first, it can feel like loss. But soon you'll notice something new taking root. Focus. Your energy no longer scatters in 100 directions. The noise begins to quiet, and for the first time in a long time, you can hear heaven clearly again. That's the purpose of this moment, to restore your frequency. You will look back on this season and realize it was never about losing people. It was about gaining perspective. The space created by separation will be filled with revelation. The silence left by absence will become a sanctuary of instruction. The distance that once hurt will reveal direction. God separates before He sends. Before the flood, He separated Noah. Before the promise, He separated Abraham. Before the ministry, He separated Jesus into the wilderness. And now, He's separating you not to punish, but to prepare. The more He sets you apart, the more clearly your light will shine. Don't resist what heaven is doing. Let it happen naturally. Those meant to walk with you will recognize your light. Those who cannot will simply step aside. In this hour, you will begin to discern who carries peace and who carries distraction. Not everyone who speaks to you is sent to you. Some were part of your preparation, others will be part of your presentation. Heaven knows the difference, and now, so do you. There is beauty in this divide, for only when light stands alone does its brilliance become visible. You are being positioned, refined, and elevated all at once. What feels like separation is actually selection. Heaven is marking those who can still hear amidst the noise of the world, and you are among them. Stand in your light. Do not fear who leaves, and do not chase who fades. The light within you will attract what belongs and repel what doesn't. This is the hour of definition, and the Creator Himself is drawing the line that reveals your purpose. The separation of light is not loss, it is alignment, and when it is complete, you will see that every distance Heaven created was simply making room for destiny. There comes a moment when the countdown ends, not in chaos but in completion. The sound you hear now is not the ticking of time, it's the heartbeat of fulfillment. What Heaven began in silence has reached its appointed hour. Every tear you cried, every test you endured, every act of faith you chose, it has all converged into this single breath of divine purpose. The waiting is over. The alignment is here. This is the hour of fulfillment and fire, the moment when everything hidden begins to glow. The promises that once felt distant now move toward you, drawn by divine timing. The invisible threads of your obedience are pulling manifestation into motion. Heaven is not just watching anymore, it's responding. The prophet Isaiah spoke of this sacred completion in chapter 60, verse 22. The Lord will hasten it in its time. That verse is the echo of this moment. For so long it felt like nothing was moving. You thought Heaven had forgotten. But time was never against you, it was working for you. Every delay refined you, every silence shaped you. And now, the fire of purpose burns unhindered. You have been forged, not just formed. You are not the same person who began this journey. The fears that once ruled you no longer carry power. The wounds that once silenced you have turned into wisdom. What tried to break you became the fire that branded your soul with endurance. Now, Heaven ignites what it has built. The fire within you is not destruction, it's direction. It burns away hesitation, purifies motive, and illuminates the path ahead. The same flame that once tested you now empowers you. You are stepping into divine momentum, where everything once withheld begins to flow. There's a holy intensity in the air, a sacred urgency not born of fear, but of readiness. Heaven is saying, move forward. The foundation is finished. What you once prayed for has already been released. What you've been waiting to begin is already unfolding. The fire that surrounds you now is the fire of fulfillment. It doesn't consume, it clarifies. It reveals who you've become, a vessel strong enough to carry light into dark places. You are no longer running from your calling, you are running with it. You've crossed from being prepared to being positioned. This is the moment when purpose stops being a promise and becomes a presence. You can feel it, an inner steadiness where there once was doubt. It's the peace that comes after surrender, the strength that comes after stillness. Heaven has turned its prophecies into pathways beneath your feet. Everything around you will start to confirm what Heaven already declared. People will see it before you explain it. The same places that once rejected you will now recognize you. The same words that once wounded you will become reminders of what you overcame. This is not coincidence, it's completion. But the fulfillment of prophecy is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of legacy. The fire that burns in you was never meant to stop with you. It will move through your words, your presence, your life. You will become the answer to someone else's prayer, the living evidence that faith when refined, always produces fire. You'll notice how peace no longer feels fragile. It has weight now, substance, gravity. That's because your peace is not circumstantial, it's positional. You've stepped into divine steadiness, the place where nothing external can unsettle what heaven has already secured within you. Look around you, the signs of fulfillment are subtle but certain. The timing of encounters, the return of joy, the sense that your prayers now breathe before you even speak them. Heaven has synchronized with your obedience, and every step you take from here will echo with purpose. The fire that began as trial has become transformation. It burns not to destroy, but to illuminate. You are light now, refined, resilient, radiant, and the world will see it, not because you try to shine, but because you simply are. Fulfillment is not loud, it's luminous. It doesn't need announcement, it carries evidence. You've entered the place where heaven and earth agree, where promises no longer feel delayed but delivered. This is your hour of fire, your chapter of completion. The clock reaches zero not as an ending, but as ignition. Heaven's timing and your obedience have met. The delay has expired, the purpose has awakened, and the fulfillment has begun to breathe through you. You are walking now in the fire of destiny. What once was spoken is now seen. What once was prayed is now lived. The waiting is over. The promise is alive. And now the journey comes full circle. What began as a whisper has become a voice. And what once felt distant has come alive within you. You've walked through silence, separation, fire, and fulfillment. Now the message belongs to you, not as something to hold, but as something to carry. This is the beauty of divine completion. It never ends where it started. Heaven finishes one story only to begin another through you. Every spark you've received here is meant to become light in another heart. Don't let it stay within these words. Let it move, breathe, and travel beyond this space. When you like or share, imagine yourself passing a torch in the dark. It's more than a gesture, it's the continuation of a flame that has touched countless souls. Somewhere, someone waits in silence for a sign that hope still speaks. Your act may be the moment their light returns. When you comment, you are leaving a trace of your fire behind. A simple word, a reflection, a prayer, it becomes a small echo in eternity. Let your comment be a seed of gratitude, a spark of grace that tells heaven, I was here and I was changed. When you subscribe, think of it as returning to the well. Each visit draws deeper water. Each moment of presence strengthens the roots of this shared awakening. And if your heart feels called to donate, do it as a quiet act of worship. See it as pouring oil into a lamp so that this light never goes out for those still searching. You are not giving away. You are extending grace forward. Let this be your final act to keep the fire alive, not because you were told to, but because your heart remembers what it felt like to be found by light. Carry it now. Share it freely. Become the message you received.